Coming up on Dig It.
I feel like I've seen his bed, but I don't know where I've seen his bed.
Where's Dunelm?
Not in Dunelm.
Not in Dunelm.
A new range.
Oh! Again, big action on the teeth and a massive, great big smile, which is what I associate with you.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I've got garden. I'm going to say it. I've got Gardener's World coming tomorrow.
All of that right after this. It's that time again. Good morning, Zoe Ball. How you doing?
I'm okay, Jo Wiley. How are you, gorgeous?
Obviously, I was listening to Elaine Page's musical show on Sunday and I've decided to sing everything today.
I love that you love musicals as much as I love musicals. We've got our first guest this week, haven't we?
Yeah,
so
we have,
exciting.
yeah.
We've not had a guest before.
I know, talking to Will Young a little bit later on. He's a friend of both of ours, I think, and he's so interesting. He's got so much to say. So we're going to talk about a variety of different things with him, whether it comes to dogs and what we feed them, mental health, gardening as well, because he's a fellow massive, massive gardener. He's so impressive in what he's doing. So, so Will later on. But tell me about your weekend. How was it? What did you do?
Oh, well, my weekend, Nell DJ'd on Friday. Honestly, you can't move for DJs around here. They played a night for under 18s at Revenge Club. Nell and her friend V, overseen by V's DJ teacher Emma. So thank you very much to Emma and to Verity's dad for helping them get all set up. So that off she went and played a gig. I'm like, God, both my children are now DJing. I never see them.
That's amazing. Oh my God. So she mixing and everything. She'll be getting there, won't she? She'll be so good.
I wasn't allowed to go because I'm embarrassing mum, but they might be doing one again later in October and it's around Halloween. I was thinking I could just go in fancy dress. No one will know it's me.
Of course. Yeah.
I might go as Cousin It. There is a fancy dress costume of Cousin It, just like huge long hair. I might invest in that and go down and she'll never know I was there. But I was really proud of her. But anyway, this morning we've had a bit of a disaster because she's got a really bad back. So she's waiting to see a chiropractor right now. She's off school. And then I fell down the stairs holding a big basket of washing and was sat at the bottom of the stairs just with like dirty pants all around me. And whilst Nell was sort of laughing, but in pain, because every time she laughs, it really hurts. But she was like, Mum, I hope you're okay, but it sounded really funny because I just heard thud, 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 expletive, expletive, expletive. So it's all been going on. I tell you.
As a grown-up, when you do something like a childish fall, like you fall down the stairs, you just feel like 6 years old again, don't you? I bet you wanted to cry as well, because I bet it hurt.
I did have a little cry. I had a little cry. And then I'm going to come at that. There's going to be a great bruise. Also, those kind of falls are quite frightening because when you're falling, you don't know how far you're going to go. And people really hurt themselves, don't they? Falling downstairs, falling upstairs, and it's often those kind of really simple little things that you do that really hurt the most. So I think as you're falling, you're thinking, oh no, I'm falling. I don't know how far I'm going to fall. It was halfway down the staircase and I don't know how bad this is going to be. As it wasn't that bad and we're all okay. But anyway, Nell's seeing the chiropractor and I might just put myself in straight afterwards.
I would if I were you.
Because I think I'm going to need it.
Oh, God.
But I tell you what, Jo, I have mainly spent this last week in mourning for Robert Redford. I was so devastated by this one. And I've found a lot of friends and family and a lot of people to talk to about this one. I think there was just something so magical about this man. You know, from first watching him probably in Barefoot in the Park with Jane Fonda all those years ago. And then he sort of had a 60-year career, so I guess all the eras of films that he made, and I actually decided I would just every evening watch all his films. So I've spent the last week, I watched Out of Africa. I thought I'm going to watch the sad ones because then I can have a little cry. And I watched Out of Africa. Oh, and the music in my head since he died, I get all the soundtracks to all his movies because there's always been great soundtracks. John Barry did the Out of Africa soundtrack and Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid was but Bacharach. So I've had that playing. And then, of course, Barbra Streisand, The Way We Were. But I've loved watching them all. And this also, he was a man who did so much good, for the film industry. He set up Sundance Film Festival.
Robert Redford, for me, was he was my heartthrob. I remember watching Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid with my dad, and from then on, it was always, he was our touchstone. He was the person that we would have as a reference point. And if ever I went out on a date with a boy, he'd be like, I bet he was no Robert Redford, was he? And I'd be like, nah, Dad, he was no Robert Redford. And he was always just my guy. And I remember about 2 years ago, the film came on, and I was like instantly transported back to being 13 years old, and my dad and I watching the film together. And I phoned my dad and I was like, Dad, our film's on. It's Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and they're doing Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head and Robert Redford and everything. And he was like, which film? And I went, Dad, our film, Butch Cassidy. Who's in it? Robert Redford, Dad. And I was so floored by his lack of he didn't even remember watching it with me. It's so funny how when you're a child, these things are so huge in your mind, and yet to your parents they're just nothing. Anyway, that was a very sobering moment in my relationship with Dad, who'll be watching this now and he'll be like, nah, I still can't remember it.
Still can't remember. My dad was really upset about Robert Redford, and I think they're a similar age. And, as all these wonders leave our world and there are so few of them left, I think for my dad, he's looking at his own mortality and his own life. And I was like, Dad, don't worry, because there was an amazing lady in a care home who just turned 116. So, Dad, you're 86. Is he 85 or is he 86? I was like, Dad, you could live to your 116. So,
Talking of inspiring elder people, first of all, we need to have a section on the show or the podcast where Jo makes apologies to the people that she's offended in the podcast. Because
if you're upset now, Jo.
I got a message from Cassius, who said, he just simply said, Gordon. And I was like, yeah, Gordon who? And then Gordon. And I went, yeah, Gordon the gecko. And he went, the gecko was never called Gordon, it was called Eliza. She was Eliza. So I got the name of the gecko wrong, and then I found a picture of her and she was beautiful and she was called Eliza and she was very dainty. She definitely wasn't Gordon the gecko. I was obviously thinking of Gordon the gopher.
Gordon the gopher.
So, apologies to Eliza, who I think is still alive and kicking. And then also I went to see my neighbour, lovely Roy, who lives next door. And it was his 91st birthday on Saturday. And he lost his wife, the wonderful Pat, fairly recently. So we went round there. And he's just so inspiring. He goes on his daily jaunt and he's just a great person. And he said at one point, he went, you've been doing something with Zoe Ball, haven't you, lately? And I went, yeah, doing the podcast. He went, yeah. Apparently you have a lot of parties. And I went, yeah. And inside I'm thinking, where's this going? And he went, yeah, apparently you have a lot of parties and they're very noisy. But you've got a neighbour and he's really deaf, so he never gets to hear them. He's really old and he's really deaf. So yeah, he never gets to hear the parties, so it's okay. And I was like, oh God, Roy, I'm so sorry. So Roy is a little bit deaf. And then he laughed so much, he was just taking the mickey. And apparently his daughter's friend or someone had got in touch with him and said, did you know that Jo was talking about you on the podcast? And she said that you were really old and you were really deaf. So I'd like to apologise to Roy. And he said, it's all right. So when you have those parties, I just take my hearing aids out. I can't hear a thing anyway. So
fantastic. You know what you want to do? You need to get Roy in the minuscule of sound. He'd absolutely love it. Next party, get Roy round. Oh, so, how wonderful.
I think the thing is, I hadn't realised people actually listen to the podcast. And when we say stuff, they get to hear it as well. And there's another really inspiring person who is Mary Berry, who is the age of 90, and she did a photo shoot the other day, and I don't know whether you saw this, but she was wearing the clothes of, I think it's Jade Holland Cooper, and it was like quintessential British fashion wear, and she looks unreal, like the boss lady of them all. She looks so cool, so super cool.
She looks so dapper, doesn't she?
Oh my God, I was so blown away. Yeah, blown away by this fashion shoot. It was amazing. And then I went and did a gig on Saturday night, and it was at Dunkerton's, which is in Cheltenham, and it's owned by a guy called Julian Dunkerton and Jade Holland Cooper, who dressed Mary for this shoot. So it was like this full circle moment. I couldn't quite get my head around it. But so I met Jade, and she was the woman who dressed Mary for this phenomenal fashion shoot. If you haven't seen it yet, we'll put the photographs on our Substack, because she just
because I think Claire Balding's in them as well, and they're in front of a big fancy house, and they look amazing. Also, well, let's hope that we soon see Jo Wiley dressed in these clothes. I think.
No, I just thought Mary, at the age of 90, still going out there, still doing fashion shoots. She's got a new book out, which is her very best recipes at 90. There is no stopping her. She's as sharp as a button.
Her. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, Dad, you don't need to worry. You're only 86. Look at Mary Berry. Fantastic. By the way, I don't know if you have seen this amazing guy, Cakes by Keith. This fantastic guy called Keith makes these hilarious cakes. And over the last couple of months, he's made one of our mate, Claudia Winkleman, which I think we can show you now. There she is. Look, there's Claude with her fringe and her crazy teeth.
Oh my God, her teeth are big.
Then there's your dear friend, the LG, Liam Gallagher.
Yeah.
This is one of Keith's cakes. And I think we've got a third. Dame Joan Collins absolutely loved her cake made by Keith. Well, he got in touch, Joe, and he said, "Can I make you and Joe some cakes?" And I said, "Absolutely, you can. We love a bit of cake. Are you ready for it, Joe?
I don't know if I am. Do we look the same? Is there any? Can you distinguish which one's which?
They're really funny.
Oh dear.
Are you ready to see your cake? Here we go.
Do.
Here's a picture for you.
The reveal. Again, the teeth. Oh, that's good because I love that because when I smile, I cannot keep my eyes open, and it's a family joke. And whenever I do a photo shoot, I'm like, I can smile, but you won't have my eyes at the same time. And that is captured very beautifully, and the shape of my nose and everything perfectly in this cake. Keith, amazing.
Isn't it brilliant? And I'm now going to do the reveal of my cake. Which, hang on a minute, I've got to hold my mic and hold the cake.
You've got the actual cake there.
Tricky. I've got it here, and I deliberately didn't look at it so we could get a live reaction. Your cake is waiting for you, by the way, so you can take it home and show your kids. Right, so here we go. The big reveal, oh my God, of my cake is here. I mean, obviously you won't be able to tell them apart because no one can ever tell us apart. But he did warn me that my teeth were made from milk bottles, which I thought was lovely because my granddad always used to get me milk bottles. They're my favourite sweet. Are you ready for it?
Okay, let's have a look. The big reveal of Zoe's cake made by Keith. Oh, let me see. Hold it up to the camera.
Hang on. Can you see me?
Oh, again, big action on the teeth and a massive, great big smile, which is what I associate with you.
They're the right colour of my teeth as well. Keith, I think you've done brilliantly. He's even done the 4 earrings. Keith, thank you so much. I absolutely love it.
Oh, look at you.
I cannot wait. You see, it's nearly fallen off. Keith, don't look at me manhandling the cake.
You delicious, scrumptious cake, you.
Cake, Keith, you're so kind. Thank you so much. I'm going to leave that out there and scare my family. The likeness is uncanny.
If you listen to the podcast and you're like, oh, I'd love to see what's going on, Spotify, you can watch it there. And I think on YouTube as well. And also we'll put the photographs on the Substack. So there's lots of ways of seeing it. Yeah,
and I think if you are looking for a birthday cake with a K by Keith with a K, Cakes by Keith, you can find him on Instagram. He's an absolute superstar. So Keith, thank you so much indeed for those delights.
If you're loving Dig It, make sure you hit the follow on Apple or Spotify. It means you'll never miss an episode. They'll download to your phone directly as soon as they're out. While you were mourning Robert Redford, and I obviously was mourning Robert Redford as well, I just had a manic weekend, really busy weekend. I did a gig on Saturday night, which I mentioned earlier on, which was so much fun. I had these amazing security guards who were down the front keeping everyone safe, but they were like the ones at Glastonbury where they do dances to the audience. They were just so good. A lovely woman and a lovely man, and I know they listened to the podcast, so thank you to them. But it was brilliant. It was like I had Bez side by side. They were doing all the moves and I was just playing the tunes.
Can they come to all of your gigs?
I would love them to. They were so special. They were great. And then I did on Friday night and then I had an MRI, but we're going to talk about joints and stuff like that a little bit later.
Joint watch.
But on Friday night, we had our quiz night. So Disco Steve did our big quiz night, and that was an awful lot of fun. But I really suffered on the Saturday. I had a couple of vodkas, and they were double measures of vodkas. I normally only have a single shot, and oh my God, the pain of having a hangover or having any vodka on a Friday night. It's awful how much more it hurts now.
It's so bad. Well, it's a thing, isn't it? I don't know whether it's the same with men as it is with women, that when you reach a certain age, definitely during and after menopause, that the hangovers, I just can't handle it. So I can have 2 drinks and that's it. Any more than that, the pain afterwards. Also, sometimes I think there is something in your biology, isn't there, where there are days when it's just worse. You might have eaten the right amount of stuff. I don't know, maybe your hormones are a little more balanced on other days, but there are times when you can have 1 glass of wine and feel so rotten that you think, why did I even bother having the one? And then other times you can have 3 cocktails and be like, woohoo, and wake up the next day in a really good mood. You've had a great night and not feel anything. So yeah, what is that? Why does it happen?
It's declining estrogen and it's fluctuating hormones and also liver function. But all I know is that I was absolutely floored when it came to Saturday, and I'd got a gig to do that night as well, which was incredibly harsh. And I'd got to go in an MRI scanner.
So you had an MRI with a hangover?
Yeah, it was awful. God. Yeah, so I don't know. I was so excited about it being Friday night and so giddy that all our friends were coming round, and I was like, I wasn't even thinking there was any alcohol in my vodka, but there was. It was savage. But we did this quiz night, and I've got some quiz questions which I want to throw and give to you, because Disco worked really hard on putting the quiz together. But we also now have our first guest on Dig It, and it's the very wonderful Will Young who joins us now. Hello, you.
Do you like how I've put my jumper? I've got my jumper, same with you guys.
Yeah, we're all wearing strong knitwear.
And good backgrounds.
Great background. Will, for anyone listening to this, is wearing a lovely check top. Now, what do you call it? I would call that a Pringle jumper.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Pringle, sort of golfy print.
How are you, Will?
I'm all right, actually. You know, Joe, that I've been having a difficult time with my emotions. So, but I always think it's really good to be transparent about it. So yeah, I have been struggling, but I'm feeling a bit like I can sort of come up for air now. I've got a lot of, I found this really good person that sort of helps deal with like stored trauma in the body. So that's really helping.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether you'd be able to talk to us today or not, or whether it would be too much for you. And you've also been out and about working really hard. So was that an extra human effort to make yourself go out there? I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I don't know how I do it, but I don't know how any of us do it sometimes when we're struggling. But I think because what's really difficult for me is it presents as anxiety. So it doesn't matter if I'm like around, I mean, I can get anxious around the post person, you know, I'm literally like, why am I having a panic attack around the post person? But it does help, because last week I was doing something with dogs and I love helping animals. And so at least having a sort of purpose does help get past that kind of anxiety. Yeah.
Can you share with us what's been going on?
It's quite interesting, actually, because I was talking to someone the other day about anxiety and they were like, oh, is it all to do with work? I'm like, no, I feel it very physically. I don't really feel it in my head as much. So I'm not a worrier. I sort of got on top of that quite a few years ago. And I do a lot of therapy that sort of, I'm more of the model that stuff that's stuck in the body drives the mind, because, you know, something comes up in the body and then the mind goes, because the mind is a problem fixing tool, very good at it, wants to go, well, what's going on? But if it's something from our past, so let's say like I'm opening the door to the postwoman and yet I'm having like a shame attack in front of my postwoman, it doesn't make sense. So, because she's lovely. So my brain goes, well, what's going on? You know, wants to work it out. So that's why we can get to sort of difficulties, because if it doesn't marry up with what's going on in our present day, we get in a bit of a tiz, you know. So that's what's been going on for me, though. It's just very strong feelings in my body and kind of like almost like freezing. And I've had it for quite a few years, but I think the positive side of this is that I used to be a lot more dissociated and I'm not now. So I'm just sort of confronting stuff.
What have you found that helps you, Will? Because I don't, you know, when I've had times like this as well, and sometimes I do a bit of work on certain things that have happened in my life, and then I've done some work on something else that's happened. And the thing is, you sort of think you deal with certain things, but they can still come up in different ways throughout your life. And sometimes they can really floor you. And you think, well, hang on a minute, I've done this work and I've done that. Why am I still having, you know, this? Why do I still feel like this? And it's sort of the more you learn about yourself, the more you can kind of understand it. What sort of things do you do that help you?
I think that's really interesting because you're right. You think you've dealt with something and then it's like, oh, that's come up again. Like, why am I feeling like uncontrollable grief suddenly, or, whatever it is. And I think there's two crucial things. There's been a big game changer for me. It's how you come into a relation with whatever's going on for you. And that can be very difficult in itself. But how we relate to what we're experiencing is key. Because let's say we're having huge waves of grief or something. And then what? We want to pile on a load of shame on top of that and go, why are you feeling like this? I always say, God, that makes it even more difficult. So how we come into relation with it, and I really try my hardest now to not get stuck in my head.
And how do you do that? Is that by physically keeping busy? You talked about gardening to me.
I mean, that's probably why when I messaged you, I was so upset, because I love gardening and I just was still finding it difficult, but I forced myself to go out. But how do I do it with thought? I just go back to the body and feel in my body. And I call it thought blocking. So when something comes in, whatever it might be, I'll be like, you're of no use to me at the moment because I'm just in a triggered state. You're of no use to me. And it's like going to the gym. Practiced it for years. And thought blocking really helps. And then the third thing, which is probably the most crucial, which is why I messaged you, Joe, is communicate with people. And I think I just had been really struggling for a few months, and I just hadn't told anyone apart from my boyfriend, who's like amazing. And I just hadn't told anyone. I just thought, well, this isn't good, because I always say to people, don't hide it, So I just started sharing with people, and I think that's really helped.
Yeah, I was so pleased you did, because I always know when you're not on social media quite so much, and I just suddenly thought, I was aware that there was this absence of you in my life, and you're really present in my life in lots of different ways, and I suddenly thought, God, I'm really missing Will. What's going on? And so to have you open up and to just have that communication, and instantly I was really worried, you hadn't got your boyfriend anymore, and also that you hadn't got friends around you. So I was reassured when you said that you did have those people. So you have got a support network, but you can't just rely on those, can you? It's just you've got to be transparent, like you say.
No, but you were really great, because you did check in with those things, and it is important. And, when we're flooded with difficult emotions, it's really isolating, and I think that's what's been the hardest thing, is that because I really love people and I love life, it's just been very isolating, because the panic has just been so much around people. And so it was great that you just checked, and I do have friends that live up the road, and actually my neighbours are really sweet, and they just like go, are you all right? And I've got Tony, who's in his 80s, and we have a chat. But that's one of the great things about gardening, which started when I was doing it in London in my front garden, was that people would stop and talk. And that's weirdly continued for me through my gardening, because I do a lot on Instagram. Someone just came to me today, was like, oh, I love your garden videos. So that does help. That's a nice sort of connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you take to your bed when you're having these episodes? Well, I was trying to understand what exactly happens, really.
Completely take to my bed. It's like,
oh God,
because I feel it so physically, and I go into a sort of fog. I just take to my bed, and sometimes I don't. I mean, recently I haven't sometimes left the house for like days. Wow. I mean, like 5 days. I just can't seem to, handle it. And so I just sort of take to my bed. But it hasn't been that bad for quite a long time.
What is the best way for people to help you when you are in the lowest of the low, when you can't get out of your bed? And how can people be useful?
That's such a good question. And what I've found over the years for myself, and I also think this is actually a bit of an elixir for healing, is validating people's feelings. So, and we're not taught how to hear people. So it's like, what's going on for you? Oh, I really hear that, So, because quite often what people say is, so let's say I was like, well, Joe, how are you doing? Oh, I'm a bit sad. Quite often the first thing people will say is, oh, don't feel sad. And you think like, my God, let's break down that sentence. You're basically invalidating my feelings. People don't mean it. I used to do it, and I can still do it. But actually to go, oh, I hear, it feels a bit weird because we're not taught the language, but I hear you feel, for me, really anxious at the moment. That must be really difficult. To feel heard is just such a kind of like leveler. And then often it can be, is there any way that I can support you?
Simple as that. The thing is, we're such a nation of fixers, and this is something I've had to learn, Will, the hard way, is that I can't fix everyone, and sometimes they don't need me to take on that role. And it's that thing of you just immediately want to help, but actually that's a great thing to hear, because actually the best thing you can do is to validate someone's feelings and not necessarily come back with a fix immediately, because obviously what would fix me would not fix you, Will, and so I wouldn't understand perhaps how to help you best. So just to listen to you, to hear what you said, and to say, yeah, I can hear that, and and just sit with that for a moment, that's such great advice. This is the thing we all need to learn. Yeah.
But here's the thing that's maybe a bit of a good route into that, is we find it difficult to sit with people's discomfort or anything that's going on, let's say, because we're not owning our own discomfort with it. So let's say I can't cope with you being sad, Zoe. Well, I need to cope with, because it's not about me, it's your sadness. And so often we want to fix because we can't sit with our own reactions to it, or I can't sit with my own reactions. The fact that you've got a wheelbarrow I don't like, Joe. So I'm going to go, well, you should have this wheelbarrow.
Is it the yellow handles that you don't like?
Yeah, I really don't like it, Joe. But, it's like we need to own our own reaction to other people's reality. And that's why often we find that difficult.
You're so often the first person that I tell bad news to. It's so funny. And you always, I know now, like when my dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's, I think you were the first person I messaged. I don't know if we were just chatting about something. And you just said, I'm really sorry, I'm sad that you feel that way, or I hear, you did you validated my sadness. That's what you did. And it was a really unusual response. I remember sitting on the train and just thinking, oh, I feel heard. Yeah, he knows that I'm really sad about this, and I find that really comforting. And you were so short in your answer, and it was really comforting. And so thank you for that. Tell us about the work you've been doing with your dogs and with the dog food. Explain it all to us.
I have a dog food brand called Miraculous Meals. We haven't been around that long, but we give 50% of our profit to dog rescue centres. And we do wet food, because I have rescue dogs. We do wet food, and we're moving into dry food now. But it's just exploded. I mean, I think we've doubled in the last 5-6 months. And I think what people are slowly realising is that, well, maybe quickly realising, is that they can get this food, which is brilliant for your dogs. And every time you get a tin, you're giving another dog a chance at a second home. And we just saw a gap, me and my two friends, because Ed also has rescue dogs, and we just saw a gap because Domino, one of my dogs, Domino and Diamond were going to be put down. They were an hour away from being put down. And the numbers are a bit iffy, but between 50 to 80,000 dogs a year put down in the UK. And we just saw a gap and thought, well, what if we create a business and a dog food that, if it grows, it's helping these rescue centres, and they are kind of in a crisis at the moment. So we went around the UK doing our first big donation of £50,000 worth of dog food to 7 of our partners. Yeah, so we went to Birmingham, Newcastle, Manchester, Edinburgh, we're going to Wales and Wiltshire. And it's just brilliant. It is so cool. Yeah. And then I push the dogs on Instagram and, go, dog of the week. We got Gary. I got Gary adopted finally after 3 years.
Oh my gosh, who was Gary? Tell us about Gary.
Gary was a big sort of American bulldog. Was a bit like my big boy Domino, just the goofiest, most adorable animal. And then just managed to get him the right home. I just love him. I love him so much. I love them all. It doesn't matter what time. I love them.
Well done, you put in such a great company together. What an amazing idea, you and your friends.
Well, it's just been, I think people are really reacting to it. Because I think the other thing is often, I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel helpless when I see things going on. Doesn't matter what it is, and we don't need to talk about, we all know what's going on in the world, but really difficult things. And you feel helpless. I feel helpless and overwhelmed. And this is just a really simple way. If people switch to this dog food, they know they're helping. And the homes love it as well, because we've got such a good relationship with them. We're not just coming in and out, we've got our partners. Yeah. And so I think that's probably why it's been reacting so well.
This episode of Dig It is sponsored by 8 Sleep. Lately, I've really come to appreciate the wonder of a good night's sleep.
And God, I wish I was like you. I am such an incredibly light sleeper. One dog barking and I'm wide awake for the rest of the night.
Honestly, I'll do anything for an extra hour of good sleep. And that's exactly what I got with 8 Sleep's new Pod 5.
So this is the clever mattress cover that keeps your bed at the perfect temperature all night?
Yeah, it cools you down if you're too hot, warms you up if you're too cold. It learns how you sleep.
And it even tracks your heart rate and breathing. No wristbands, no watches, just smart, comfy tech.
8 Sleep is designed to help you fall asleep quicker, stay asleep longer, and wake up refreshed.
Which means I can finally get back into the garden, getting things done full of energy.
And if you share a bed with someone who runs hotter or colder, it adjusts each side independently. Amazing.
Head to 8sleep.com/digit, use code DIGIT and get up to £350 off the Pod 5 Ultra.
That's code DIGIT for up to £350 off the Pod 5 Ultra.
If you're tired of being tired, sleep better with 8 Sleep.
This episode is brought to you by Airbnb.
Now, you've been running around a lot lately, haven't you? Because it's that time of year.
Oh, it sure is. Collecting, dropping off the kids, work deadlines, barely enough time to do the laundry. Honestly, it feels like that for a lot of people I know at the moment. I was chatting to a mate last week. She's got a lovely flat, travels all the time for work, so the place just sits empty. She wants to host it on Airbnb, but hasn't got the headspace to manage it all.
I totally get that. My friend said the same. She loves the idea of making a bit of extra money, but couldn't see how she'd fit it into her schedule, which is really busy. And that's where the Airbnb co-host network comes in. You can team up with somebody local who helps take care of everything.
Okay, so if you're busy or maybe you just don't know where to start, you can essentially pair up with someone who will do it all for you.
Exactly. So from writing your listing to messaging guests and managing bookings, a co-host can do it all.
So basically, you can make hosting work even when life gets a bit full on.
Yes. And if that sounds like a win to you, find a co-host at airbnb.co.uk/host. We had a quiz night on Friday night. Disco Steve obviously is a bit of a performer. He likes to have an audience, and so he invited loads of our really special friends around. And he did this quiz. It was a little bit. He bought loads of pub quiz books, and then he did ChatGPT as well. And there were 3 questions, my 3 favourite questions. So I'm going to ask you those questions, you two, and see if you've got the answers. Okay. So, how tall was Henry VIII? I bet Will's going to know this.
Lord, do you know Will?
I think he was short and wide. I know he was definitely wide, wasn't he?
We know he was wide. I feel like I've seen his bed and it was very small. But I don't know where I've seen his bed. Is it at Hampton Court? I don't know. Where did he live?
Not in Dunelm. Go on, give me guesses.
Dunelm.
A new range. I wanted to go 5'4".
5'4". Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to know?
Yeah.
6'2".
What?
I know. I said exactly the same as you. I said 5'5".
Man.
No, 6'2". So tall and wide.
Where has he got this fact from?
I don't know. Well, I'm trusting that he's right.
I mean, Damian Lewis is very tall, and he played him in the drama. So maybe it was cast with that in mind.
Didn't he burst in his coffin?
Oh, gross!
Did he? Why did he burst?
I think gas built up, and
that's what happens when you're gone. Yeah.
I've always remembered that fact.
I'm never going to forget that fact.
Did a history teacher teach you that? Because that is a great fact.
I think so.
And that is the kind of thing kids should learn in history.
It was Mr. Shilston taught me that.
Mr. Shilston, I salute you.
I've got another question for you. Which animal has fingerprints that are virtually indistinguishable to humans' fingertips.
Well, the thing is, I want to say chimpanzees, but I think it is something like a lemur that's actually closer. Something in the back of my mind.
So you're thinking chimpanzees. Shall I tell you the answer? Put you out of your misery.
I think it's a lemur.
You think it's a lemur? So
I'm going to go with chimpanzees.
it's a koala. So a koala, apparently, their fingerprints are almost indistinguishable from a human's fingerprints. And forensic scientists in the past have had difficulty distinguishing between the two.
This is incredible. I would quite like to get my fact cross-checking group involved in Steve's. I mean, if he's getting this from, Chat GPT, what is it? Not GPT. I can't even remember what's it called?
GPT, and also pub quiz books. We looked it up on the internet this morning, so I did.
This is fascinating.
I've got one more, final one. After the giraffe, which is the second and the third tallest land animal, not when rearing, so not when they're rearing up, but after the giraffe, the next biggest land animals in the world.
One must surely one's an elephant.
What do you want to go for next? The third one.
Rhinos are really strong, but they're not necessarily tall. Horses? Yeah, could it be horses?
I was thinking a very large horse.
Yeah.
Or
Shire horse.
There is an antelope, which is like the giraffe antelope, that's called something like a nyala.
Ooh.
And I think they have a very long neck, but that's when they're rearing up.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, rearing's doesn't count.
Or a moose. Is it
A moose?
It's not a moose. No, I guess
Bears.
moose. It's not a moose. It's not a moose, not a bear.
Not a bear. But what about a grizzly bear? They're huge. They're so
That's when
tall.
they're rearing.
Oh, it's so when they're rearing, so they've got to be on all fours.
Giraffe,
Lord.
elephant.
It's not a shire horse. It's not a moose. It's an ostrich. An ostrich is an animal. I have looked this up.
Ostrich.
And the biggest ostrich, 9
They
foot.
scare me.
9 foot. That's how tall ostriches can get to. Ta-da! And that's the end of our quiz for today.
Well done, Disco Steve. I feel like a failure. I cannot get over the fact that Henry VIII is 6'2". That's madness. It's obviously not his bed I've seen, is it?
In Dunelm.
Will, I'm quite jealous because you have not one but 2 walled gardens. Ever since reading The Secret Garden as a child, I've been obsessed with walled gardens, and you have 2. Tell us about them.
And an island.
And an island. Do you know what? You've worked very hard for it.
I have
deserved it.
Exactly.
You've worked bloody hard for it.
Well, it is like a secret garden, actually, and it did make me think of that book. So I've got the house, and I wanted this garden. Originally, I wanted it for the dogs, because then I've got a reactive dog. So I thought, well, brilliant. He can't get out, and it's safe. But yeah, I found this house near where I grew up. And then it has this little bridge onto an island, and it's just enchanting. And then I started finding all these I found a little stable that was covered in ivy that I didn't see when I bought it, because they used to have a little horse. And this old greenhouse. I mean, it's just been amazing, really. So I've been slowly uncovering, discovering paths, old like Victorian brick paths, all completely covered over. Yeah, so it's been incredible. Bit of a tonic, actually.
A secret garden revealing itself to you as well. Isn't that magical? You didn't even know half of it was there.
I didn't know half of it was there. When I saw the stable, I was like, there's a stable? But I have been working hard, but it's been keeping me really fit. And then I started sort of sharing it on Instagram because I thought, well, might motivate me. And I got like 50,000 new followers. And it's just sort of bonkers. Also, I don't really know much about gardening. I mean, I love gardening, but I'm not, your knowledge, Jo, is way better than mine. And I'm sure yours is as well, Zoe.
No, I'm rubbish.
My family are gardeners. My sister is a gardener as a profession. My mum's garden design, so it is in there. But I'm really enjoying the design element of it.
It's like watching Grand Designs. It's like one of those programs. I'm obsessed with it. And you are constantly going to reclamation yards and coming back with stone troughs.
I know. I need to calm down on the stone troughs because I haven't actually got the garden in order yet. So I bought these I discovered this auction website, and that's been the death of me. But then you have to go and collect them or pay the postage. So you think it's really cheap, and then you think stone troughs quite expensive to ship.
Yeah. What struck me with yours is how physically hard you are working. I mean, you're doing loads of the work yourself. Your body must be.
I've lost a stone.
Yeah,
I know. I've lost a stone since I started. But when I'm obviously it's been more hard recently, but actually it's really good for your well-being. It's really good for my head. It's really good for my physical health. I always say to people, if you're having a difficult time, if you can get back into your body, remind yourself, I've got arms, I've got legs, I can own my space, and gardening actually, particularly crossing over that little bridge onto the island, I feel like my shoulders just drop, and and obviously being near water as well. It's very special, but I keep on seeing nature. I saw peregrine falcon. There's a buzzard. There's an owl that comes and visits during the day. I've seen badgers, fox running along the wall. And if you just sit there, they just sort of come. But it's in a town. I'm not in the middle of the countryside. So it's quite amazing, really. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to say it. I've got Gardener's World coming tomorrow. Jo.
How scary is it when Gardener's World are coming round? I mean, are you sort of, do you panic and Gardener's World are coming round? Or you don't have to sort of tidy up certain corners and quickly get things in the ground? Or do they come and see it as it is, Will?
Yeah, well, this is the other thing. And I like this with gardening, is that it's a ongoing project. So I have deliberately left, it's not done. And I've got piles of junk everywhere, so I don't mind that. And I did tell them that that's the case. But then, of course, yesterday I was like, I need to mow the lawn. What about the dog poo? There's dog poo everywhere. I haven't picked up the apples. I need to rake up the leaves. And so I went on a sort of mad. I need to rake up the leaves from the stream. It was like, I went a bit mad. But I did.
I would do the same thing exactly.
It was really funny.
It's horrible.
And actually, my friends who live up just 3 doors up, their son Monty is currently doing some more piles of leaves for me. So I thought I was really cool and calm, but actually I've gone mad.
I'm so excited that we will get to see you on Gardener's World, though, because that is such a lovely moment on a Friday night. And of course, you can watch it anytime on iPlayer, but on a Friday night, just to sit on the sofa and put on Adam and Joe and Monty and the gang and Rachel and Ari. I love seeing in other people's gardens. I just love seeing people's passion, and it doesn't matter the size or how much people know. It's just everybody giving it a go, and is such great inspiration on that show. So,
Zoe,
yeah.
can you imagine being exposed on Gardener's World? Say they come around and they just see piles of leaves everywhere and all this junk that you just left lying around, and they'd be like, oh, who lives in a hovel like this? Will Young.
They're not going to come around and see my little garden.
There's so much junk from like the stable, and there's junk all over the garden because it's quite far away from the house, so I have to bring it up. I can't. There's no like easy access. I have to bring it all up.
Whatever, Will.
So each week, Will, we do crate digging, where we both have a record that we've been loving, or I pull one out of my collection behind here. And Will's going to join in with this, which is very exciting. Joe, do you want to go first?
Because I've been very busy. I wanted to get the Biffy Clyro album, which is called Futique. So I want to give that a big shout out. I haven't actually physically managed to go to a shop or to get it here. So Biffy Clyro Futique is really good. It's their latest album. And then also just behind me, if people are watching, I've got the CMAT album, which is called Euro Country, which lots of people are saying might well win the Mercury Prize this year. So I wouldn't be at all surprised. But it's a glorious cover, and she's a glorious woman. And as a performer, she's just astounding to watch and really full of joy. And she's got an amazing voice. So Euro Country by CMAT would be my vinyl offering for today, with Biffy Clyro coming in. Futique is the album as a close second.
Brilliant. I have somewhat cheated this week, because normally I just pull one out, but because I've been in mourning for Robert Redford, this week I have dug out from my collection The Way We Were.
Oh, I knew my mum and dad have got that at home.
Because look, there is Hubble and Katie. I mean, I've just, watching it this week, I've realised Hubble was not the best of gentlemen. You know, he really let her down. He left her alone with a kid. He went off he just couldn't live up to her expectations. But it's still an amazing film, and the music by Marvin Hamlish. And I saw Marvin Hamlish, an interview with him they'd put out this week because I guess Robert Redford had died. And he told this great story about how the film was ending, and there is Katie talking to Hubble at the end in New York. They've run into each other in New York City, and it's many moons afterwards. And Katie is talking to him, and he was saying he went home and he watched the last scene, and he's like, it's just a bit flat. It's just a bit flat. And there was this great moment where Barbara Streisand decided she would just brush his fringe, Hubble's fringe. And at that moment, he brings in The Way We Were, that theme, and it comes in and it breaks your heart. And you're like, that's what made that moment. And that's how clever, how wonderful music is. And you hear that music and you are in that, that place with Hubble and Katie, and it was just never meant to be. Bless them.
I saw a clip of Barbara talking about how she wasn't supposed to be, that wasn't planned, that brushing the hair, but she was just looking at him and she was like, I've just got to touch his hair, and she just stroked his hair and brushed it aside.
I've got to touch Robert. I just need to touch Robert Redford. Bless her. That's my offering this week. And Will.
I was going to do 2, but no. Caution, Caution Spark, Joni
Caution
Mitchell.
Spark, Joni.
And actually, this was quite seminal. It was a really seminal album for her because she moved into working with this engineer, Henry Louis. Now, I know all this because I remember listening to a documentary on it, and who employed a lot more jazz musicians, sort of LA collectives, but also, I think, Crosby, Stills and Nash, I think 2 of them played on it. But it was just a really interesting departure for her. And she'd been churning out all these albums, but then took a year off to make this, maybe even 2 years. And it was one of those records that just kind of changed my life. You know, when you hear a record and you're like, what was I doing before I heard this record? Like, how was I existing before? And then I used to do a cover of Help Me, which is one of the most complicated musical songs to do, particularly as a drummer. But luckily I had a great drummer, Ash Sohn. And yeah, I love it, and keep on sort of coming back to it. It's like a great book. You just can't help but return and sort of learn more and see the genius of it. So that's my record.
Oh, Will, it's been so nice having you on.
Can Steve come on and do a quiz with us one week at Christmas time? I feel like we should get the family on. We'll get Will on, and we'll get Disco Steve to do a podcast Christmas quiz. I think it'll be...
I'm thrilled to be your first guest.
Oh,
thank you so much.
What a great first guest. Follow that, Will.
Follow that.
You may be our only ever guest.
Maybe.
Will, thank you for sharing so openly with us today, and good luck with the garden.
No, and thank you for listening.
Lots of love, darling.
Love you. Bye.
Thanks so much to Will. That's all we've got time for today. Back again on Monday to dig in and hear what you've been saying. If you have any questions, tips or general thoughts, do contact us. We love hearing from you. Our WhatsApp and our email address are in the show notes.
And if you're loving the podcast, which we hope you are, please leave us 5 stars on Apple or Spotify with a little review as well, because it really helps other people to find the show.
Dig It is a Persephonica production.